All right, and Edison Hatter joining you here live from a hotel room in Stockholm, Sweden, as we prepare for Elite Weekend 2024. In fact, it's already underway. We've completed the Elite Friday card. I just returned from Solvalla a couple hours ago. Fantastic first day of racing. Got some great interviews with connections, all sorts of great information that we're going to share and hopefully give you some winners for this weekend's card. So let's bring out my rest of my co-hosts here. Let's start with Thomas Svensen. Thomas, of course, our good local expert here on the Scandinavian racing, and Thomas is coming to us, I think, from Philadelphia. So, Thomas, we're about 3,500 miles apart, but obviously a great asset to have you on to discuss some of the Swedish racing.
Yeah, it's for me, it's like the best harness racing week there is, and with the weather they have and the horses who's coming to Solvalla, I'm just looking forward to go through those races with you guys and discuss little harness racing that we love.
We got Mike Pribozie as always, and Mike, of course, has done a very good job of learning the Swedish racing, is definitely taking a loving to it, as Thomas and I have, and Mike is, I know, excited for this weekend.
Definitely excited. Hopefully you guys caught the newsletter this morning. Harness Players newsletter went out this morning. Lots of Swedish coverage in there, and we're excited for a great couple days here over in Solvalla. It'd be great.
And last but not, well, maybe actually least, Ray. Välkomna, Ray.
Yeah. I'm here. Don't worry. I know everyone was wondering where I was. Here I am. I'm nowhere else. I'm not in Sweden, unfortunately. I hear it's great out there. Edison, the weather looks lovely. If I can say so myself. The weather here looks very curtained, so I'm kind of jealous of you right now.
And Ray, I know you're such a fancy eater. You'd be really impressed with the restaurant that's like right over my left shoulder here. There's a McDonald's down there for you, Ray. Right across the street.
Yo, Swedish McDonald's? I bet that hits differently than American McDonald's, if I'm being honest. Now, my lunch today was Trader Joe's tikka masala, which wasn't that bad.
Well, we do have a lot of great racing to discuss, the four of us here for the weekend. So, again, we're going to, and you know what? I was on PTF show. You can go catch the flagship show earlier this week when it was me, Julian McLaren, who will be hosting the TV show with me tomorrow in the ATG studios here in Stockholm. We were PTF, and PTF gave me permission. We can steal. This is the final answer show. We can steal that term. We're not going to get sued, Ray. The final answer show here for Sweden. Going to give out some hopefully final answers for a lot of different races this weekend. We'll discuss the Sweden Cup eliminations tomorrow, races 1, 2, 3. The final will go as race 7. We've got the Harper-Hanover Lopp. That's race 12 tomorrow. Sunday, all sorts of stuff to discuss. We got to discuss Elite Monte race, of course. We've got to discuss Elite Kampen for those cold blood horses. We've got the 4-year-old Elite races for the Colts and Geldings for the mares. And, of course, we got those Elite Lopp eliminations and the final. So a lot to get to. I guess let's jump into it. And Mike, we'll let you have the honor of going first here. First race on Saturday, and I think Ray Cotolo is going to show us the field online. Hey, look at that. Ray is great at this producing stuff. Ray is producing for us tonight, by the way, so take that as you will.
Yeah, tonight loosely and producing. I'm just trying to justify, the $80,000 that I had to spend over the course of 4 years, which I also want to mention, I gambled half of that in half the time.
Well, that's good. You got that degree, Ray. We're going to put good use to it. So there's our productions, and there is our field for the Saturday first race. And Saturday's first race, the first of 3, Mike, Sweden Cup elimination. Sweden Cup known as the Little Elite Race. These horses kind of on the fringe of being in the big race. In fact, several of the horses in there we've seen, be elite horses in the past in some of the big races. We start off here with the top 3 advancing from each of these first 3 eliminations. How do you see the first race kicking us off tomorrow, Mike?
Well, a couple things. There's a scratch already, so the 5 is out. 7 Nation Army is scratched, early scratch there. Horse that is familiar to, if you listen to the pods last year, the 1, Starro Matt Crow. Pretty nice horse and has been facing toughies here. Stole the show, who raced in the elite race last year, has basically become a monster over there right now, and this horse has run into that one in its last 2, so has been facing better, gets back to Solvalla where I think that this horse excels, and I do think that given that post, that this horse could be difficult to beat in that first elimination. If you look at the ATG website, currently right about 5-1 right now. I think that that's value Now, it's early, obviously, with the betting, but you can get those early odds on that ATG website, SwedishRacing.com. So check that horse out. The horse that's taking the early money is the 7 Knight Brody. That's another horse that has raced pretty well. 20 lifetime wins, has made 540,000. So, has been second a couple times here recently. Ships in, has raced okay at Solvalla in the past. We'll see how that one goes. But for me, I think I'd be more the 1-star Macro. The 4, That's Not Cool, is another horse I think that has a chance, especially underneath.
Thomas?
I'm a little shocked with Mike. He forgot to mention the winner.
I agree.
We should ask you first.
Yeah, Knight Broad is gonna normally walk this race here home. He's like a catapult behind the gate, especially now with the scratch on Seven Nation Army. When he got into the post 6, I would be shocked if Knight Broad is not in the lead. Maybe Star McCrow from the rail can defend the rail, but Knight Broad, he was second in the elimination, second in the final in the Lotteria in Italy, where he just lost for Capital Mail. He was a horse that maybe people was talking to race in the Elitlopp, and especially now with the scratch, only 6 horses. I will, if I can get even money on Knight Broad, I'm flying to the window.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's the kind of percentage or number I'd be looking for there. Night Broad, I think, you mentioned it, Thomas. Second in Lotteria. Took 7-1 action against Don Finucci Zet there in a race at Solvalla a couple weeks ago. So, obviously, has plenty of class here. And, I think the scratch only helps here. The field of 6 help him just control this race. So, Night Broad is where I would go. Ray, before I throw it to you, because you've had this problem with a guy named Scott Zeron before, I just want to make sure you're not going to go with the 2 Ante Laroque, because I talked to Urian Kielstrom today. Here's the first of many things I have to say from what my drivers told me. Okay. He said the horse is in very good shape, but he usually doesn't win races like this. He'll be happy to just make the final. So hope you're not picking him to win.
No, I don't. And on top of that, I think it was really smart of all of you to bring me onto this discussion as basically the representative for people who have no idea what's going on over in Sweden. So I'm going to be actively learning how all of the racing goes, and you guys are going to teach me a lot. And by teaching me a lot, you're going to teach everyone at home a lot. So no matter what I say, who I like, if you want to say that horse sucks, go ahead. I got to learn, and you got to learn the hard way sometimes. But at the very, I feel good that I'm kind of on the right radar. Night Broad was one that definitely stood out. And on top of that, looking at the early betting it tells me that this horse is probably going to be one of the main ones inside of the race. But beyond that, I was interested in 2 others. I was looking at the 6 Diamond Truppo coming in from Italy, and it was just racing okay over there. I don't necessarily know how he'll match up against a horse like Night Broad, but you look 2 starts back, was able to beat Night Broad in one of the eliminations for that race over in Naples. Ended up losing to them when finishing 6th in the final. But the horse does okay going 1,600, does well going a little longer too. And if he's an okay price, because that's the other thing that I'm doing is looking at the early money, seeing where there could be some discrepancies. And the horse is the second choice. That's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. So I got my eye on the 6. The 1 is also interesting to me, but I trust Thomas on this one, that the 7 speed might be the big thing to contend with, especially going 1,600 over at Solvalla, which is a 5/8. So they go 3 turns for 1,600.
I just going to mention that Star McCrow, they tried racing with no shoes in Finland. No, not in Finland, in the last race. And he was not like better with that. So he's going to get the shoes back. And I love Star McCrow, but I think with Night Broad scratching in one post, he is so fast. So Night Broad for me, but I know what people are saying on Star McCrow. I like that horse too. So.
And Ray, if you're going to take Diamond Truppo for a chance, Alessandro Gocciadoro trains and drives, of course, the winner of the Sweden Cup the last 2 years. 2 years ago, Beppe B on the lead in the rain. And last year, of course, that exciting flying finish by Ben Urian Jet, who we will, of course, talk about later on. But we'll go to race 2 here. That's a field of 7 for the second elimination for the Sweden Cup. And Thomas, the only thing I have to offer in this race, quote-wise, it also comes from Urian Kielstrom, his other Daniel Redian trainee. Missile Hill, he says, is in very good shape. He thinks this horse could upset and win with some racing luck. And beyond that, who do you like?
This race here is wide open. If not just a Gigolo have his best day. He's raced 3 times this year. Only he was sixth, but this horse is the horse with the class in this race. And I know Philippe Allier don't gonna bring this horse to Solvalla if he is not believing that he's sharp and stuff like that. But he's still a question mark when he haven't showed anything. And we know Clickbait is following the gate. There is many horses who is fast behind the gate. A Lawmaker can leave. Spartacus can leave if he don't make a break. But I think it will be Clickbait in the lead. And if Miss Hill has been super good. He's been 9 years old now. I think he need to have a little trip and to get to the final. Colibriette won last race, but it was a cheap race down in Naples in Italy. Clickbait, if he can get a little breather, he can win. But if you're gonna have just a jiggle on the outside, I think you're gonna eat them up. And Danio de Deglide is coming out. He's been racing in the silver division in Sweden, and they were supposed to keep him there, but the connection want to have him in the Sweden Cup. I think it's a little tough. So for me, if I say just a Gigolo, Clickbait, and Missile Hill.
You know, Mike, just the Gigolo connections, of course, Philippe Allaire, Gabriel Gellermini, winners last year with Honeck in the Elitlopp. So it definitely seems like those two in town on a horse like this teaming up usually means they're coming with pretty strong intentions in a race like this. But is that the way you went or somewhere else?
No, I went Missile Hill just because of the value. And you're getting the top connections. And right now, 8.5 to 1 on the board. And, I did catch your interview today. And Orion said, the horse has a chance. And it seemed like that with the horse in the first race, it was almost like, we'll see what we get. We'll take an easy trip and get what we get. And, on this horse, I think that they're going to try. And I really think that there's value there. And just the Gigolo hasn't showed much this year. Now, I know the horse has made $1.2 million, but, I mean, if you want to take a short price on a horse like that, and I understand that, I mean, the horse has class and probably his best race wins the race, but, why not take a horse from the top barn that you're going to get value on with an inside post that the driver has told you, hey, the horse is in good shape. We're going to, get ready and roll here. And, it's not exactly like he's a slouch. He's made $750,000. I'll take Missile Hill at that price right now.
R to the A to the Y, Cotolo?
Uh-huh. That's how you spell it. If you're hip, that is. I don't necessarily know if you fall into that camp.
If you can give us a winner here, so what do we got?
Well, I also want to point out another observation as someone who doesn't really know what's happening over here is constantly I'm going, whoa, because I'm seeing all these names that I remember from so long ago. Like, Mike, you'll remember when we did our first Nahu Picks live stream from the Hambletonian. That was the year Lawmaker was in the Hambletonian. And now, in some weird serendipitous spin of fate, to be redundant, he's here in this Solvalla weekend. I just think, and then there are other horses later on, a lot of Burke horses, oddly enough, later on that we'll see in other races we discuss. But I'm not on Lawmaker inside of here. This race does seem fairly obvious towards Clickbait. It's unfortunate that he's probably going to be a short price inside of this race, but at the same time, he's yet to win this year. Maybe this is a spot where he can finally get that win, but at the same time, I feel like it's worth recognizing that he's still looking for the first win of the campaign, and so maybe taking him at a short price might not necessarily be the best. And we're talking class. Missile Hill was second to Don Finucci's that beat Clickbait in his most recent race in Solvalla. So I'm kind of in agreement with Mike from that end that if Missile Hill isn't the favorite and is kind of like the most logical second choice, and you're getting the better price on him, that's probably the play over the chalk. But at the same time, it's kind of like a tit for tat kind of thing to that end. But Missile Hill, the one that obviously grabbed my eye, and I keep looking at these Gocciadoro horses because they all seem like they're coming in kind of interesting ways. Colibri Jet to the inside, taking a little bit of play as well. So I'll be curious how he does, given that he also gets a good draw to the inside.
Colibri Jet and just Gigolo both seem to have a couple of gate issues there in some of the recent starts. So I like Ray, which is maybe concerning, end up on Clickbait as well. But,
Well, he's the chalk. That's how you end up on him.
his connections that wanted to try to get to the elite race. I mean, look, he's participated in 2 win-in races for Elitlopp in the last 2. Loses to Don Vanucci's Ed, who forced him to start to go. Loses to Sol the Show, who passed on his potential invite to the Elitlopp. But again, Hail Mary was there. I mean, these were both elite horses last year. So clearly he's kept great company. Obviously, him and Missile Hill, were close there, finished second and third together a couple starts ago. Took similar amounts of money in that spot, too. So maybe Mike's onto something with the discrepancy in price we're likely to see tomorrow between Clickbait and Missile Hill. But Clickbait, the direction that I'll go in that second elimination. And Mike will turn our way towards the third elimination, the third and final elimination, race 3 here. And, we got another Alessandro Cucciadoro horse. He's got the 6 Always Act. The Geo Cash comes in from the Netherlands and Germany for recent races. And how about Harry Knows? This horse we recognized from the Meadowlands last year. Trainer, driver, owner Patrick Kane came over to drive this horse first start at the Meadowlands last year, and he most recently was a winner in the Netherlands as well here earlier this month. So definitely a lot of different ways to go in this race.
Yeah, that's a tough race, and the money spread, if you look, I mean, there's only 2 horses that are outsiders according to the board, and most of the horses are between 3-1 and 6-1 if you look at the early money. Now, that doesn't always mean anything, but it just shows you how wide open the race is. And when a race is wide open like that, I'd be more interested in defaulting to Cucciadoro just because he's winning 43%. So, I mean, that means, a lot. And we talked about on previous podcasts that, he does bring horses ready to roll. A horse that we followed last year, the 5 Following, is sort of a closing type horse, and it's going to be a big price. It's probably about 20-1 on the board, but I feel like if you're playing tries, that might not be a bad horse to play underneath. And a horse that's faced some toughies, has been against horses like A Fair Day, Don Fanucci's Zet. Those are decent horses here, and that's a horse that I think I'd be interested in at a price if you're looking for a long shot.
Well, Thomas, we can always kind of turn for you to give us some insight on maybe some of these even outside of Sweden horses coming in and where their form may lie. But the 7 Geo Cash was the one that I figured take a chance with here from the outside post. The Netherlands recently, Germany, the form looks to be solid there. This horse is 1/13 from 22, has over $400,000 in the card. I think potentially could fit against this group. But what are your thoughts on the race, Thomas?
I was hoping Geo Cash was going to the Elitlopp. There was talk about it, but they did skip it because it's 5. I was a little surprised they went out in the Sweden Cup, because Sweden Cup it's 2 heats that do, and they almost need to go in the same. They need to go low, 51 at least, ish around that. Geo Cash, he was second in the big 4-year-old race last year when he lost for Double Deceiver, and I love this horse. He qualified good in Volvega, and he won easy last when the first race he did this year, 1st of May, and then he beat the Derby winner Campus. And Geo Cash is for me the horse to beat in this race. This elimination is very weak, in my opinion. Super Nice is just a horse. Harry Knows. Yeah, it's going to be cool. There's many Irish people coming to Solvalla. It's going to be a fairy tale story for Patrick Kane. But if he wins, I'm out of everything. So Emoji is a decent horse, and Flemming Jensen, a Danish trainer, always have them sharp when they get there. He can leave the gates. He can maybe, I don't going to say he can go to the front. I think Chapeau is going to the front. He is super fast behind the gate, but he's 10 years old. It's not like he was for 2-3 years ago. Then he could maybe win this elimination. Following, he's following. The name is very good. He always follow horses and cheat and make money and like that. I never been high on him. So, but he's okay. Always act. He'll make a break in the lottery elimination, but he won the consolation in impressive way. He is the horse without Geo Cash who have class. So for me, horses, it's going to be 2 horses if it is on the pick 4. I think Geo Cash is the winner, but I will double a little up with Always Act. That's the 2 horses to beat.
Yeah, Ray, speaking of the pick 4, looking at some of that early money in the pick 4, it obviously looks a little different than the money here on the win odds. I don't suspect Harry Knows is going to be the favorite, but obviously, again, kudos to those connections that have surely gotten their trip around many different countries here recently with Harry Knows. He's got a lot of wins, but not a lot of money because, again, as you are, I'm assuming, aware, obviously, the Irish, the Great Britain, those harness races usually aren't going for a lot of money, usually not the best horses or fields ever. So, I don't know how he matches up here, but, kind of like Just Believe last year, definitely a story worth rooting for.
Yeah, I see that he's taking all this early money, and I'm in agreement that he's not gonna. I don't think he'd be favored come post time. I am kind of surprised to see Geocache not taking a lot of early money, but when I was looking at the form again, I know Jack's diddly squat about. He might have been like a really popular trotter in Europe for all I know, Jack diddly squat, but I still could see Geocache is probably the horse to beat. You look at his lines, you look at the speed that he's been able to show. He's made $400,000. He's hit the board in all but 2 starts in his career. Got a good bloodline from the sire Victor Gio. Everything just seems to make sense for that guy to do well. But the downside is I don't think you're probably going to get that 5-1. Or is that 5 or 4-1 when looking at the odds off of ATG?
4.5 to 1.
That's right. Okay, yeah, that's what I was figuring. So yeah, you're not getting the 9-2 on Geocache, and if you are, I imagine that Thomas will be flying to any window that you can find to take Geocache at 9-2.
Right. If you click on top where it says all races and then V4, you can click on that and get the percentages there and you can see that if you do that, the 2 outside horses are taking the majority money early in the V4. So
yeah, and that's the discrepancy that I was talking to here. Is we'll see if Ray can pull that up, but you're going to notice that. The V4 is the first 4 races on the card tomorrow, Saturday. So races 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is race 3. And if Ray has them, see the discrepancy. There we go. Yes. Discrepancy between the win odds and that's race 1, Ray.
Oh, you're right.
We're getting there. Slowly
race
working
3.
our way there. Ray is giving you good information on how to work the website. There we go. You can see that discrepancy between the percentages there in the pick 4 tickets. So you got 33 and 29% of pick 4 tickets playing Always Zach and Geocache. Harry knows at 5%, which is why I said I really don't suspect he's going to be the favorite tomorrow by post time. Obviously, you kind of got to use both these things. You'll see those win odds kind of even out tomorrow as we get through. I mean, again, very big pools in Europe. There's already, tens of thousands of dollars in that pick 4 pool. So that's kind of already a good clue for things are, but it'll be much, much bigger by the time we get to post time tomorrow. But Thomas, so that's the 3 eliminations. Obviously, you'll want to take those in, and obviously all 4 of us can be followed on social media, and I'm sure we'll share our thoughts there if anything changes. But do you have any early preliminary thoughts to share about your thoughts on the Sweden Cup final when it comes around to race 7?
Yeah, I think the horse to beat is just a Gigolo. If he is back to, I would be shocked if Philippe Allaire send him up to Solvalla if he don't believe in the horse. When he can race up there, some of the horses when they go back from Vincennes, who's a big track, up and down, go to Solvalla 5-8, like it's so good surface to race on. You're going to maybe get American race bike on. I would say just a Gigolo, just of the class to win the Sweden Cup.
So I get the benefit of being in the studio working tomorrow, so I can for sure give my thoughts in real time once we see these eliminations. But my preliminary thoughts are, I'm very intrigued to see, especially with his past history in this race and just history in general, to see where Alessandro Gocciadoro ends up. I think Diamond Trippo is actually the one of his horses that I like the best. But we'll see, who makes it through to the finals, which ones he ends up driving. I think there's a lot of clues to gain there, especially depending on how Always Zach looks. Maybe I end up flipping there. So I'm pretty undecided in that sense. But Nightbrada might end up being the selection for me. Obviously, posts are going to matter too. I mean, Mike, there's a lot to take in when you're considering that anything we're given is with a caveat right now, obviously, depending on how things shake out early tomorrow morning in these limbs.
Yeah, and I think that, like Thomas likes just a Gigolo. Well, we'll see where he's at, I think, with the elimination. You'll know right away if he's back to himself, and that'll play huge. And but if he's not, then he doesn't make the final, then it turns into a wide open event. I mean, I'm not sure that I would take anyone from the 3rd elimination for the final, but again, it's difficult to know. I do think the winner will come out of the first 2, and we'll see what happens. But a lot of it hinges on just the Gigolo, just with his class, and so far he hasn't started the season quite himself. He only won 2 last year, also. So we'll see. And I probably would be more Missile Hill clickbait and see how those 2 do, especially if the favorite doesn't end up in the final.
Ray, for what it's worth, some of these past elite horses, and especially the ones we see this year that are coming out of the Lotteria, maybe there's an advantage, too. They've already seen the eliminations, too, racing 2 times in a day. I mean, obviously, Standardbred's usually pretty durable, but that is something to factor in, and I'm sure something you're usually tuned to this when we're talking, like the Jug, for example.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, even if a horse can get through it once, every time they do, it's going to be different because the conditions are never going to be the exact same. And so, even if a horse can stay calm, you're still going to want to just keep an eye on, if they make the second heat, just like how are they scoring down? Are they getting hot? Are they not don't have a lot of energy? Do they have too much energy? Like it's going to be important in the same way it is for pretty much every single race to just watch how each horse is handling themselves. Because again, like you have the past to look at for horses that have gone through it, but that's never full. That never fully tells you that they're going to be apt to do it again. Or on top of that, horses that have never done it, that doesn't tell you that they can't do better if they go 2 heats in a day. So it's just all about watching how they're performing and how they're scoring and how they look.
Mike, as we flip to the 12th race now on Saturday, that's the Harper Hanover race. This is 3,140 meters. It's right around 2 miles, and it's the vault starts. This is that circular start we talked about. There's horses with all sorts of distance handicapped. In fact, if Ray scrolls through this field, we'll see the first 7 will start on the front row. Then there's the 20-meter handicap, the 3 horses there, and then the last 5 have that 40-meter handicap. And Mike, several thoughts and items and stuff that I've got here when it comes to quotes. First of all, speaking back to your original point on Missile Hill, I'm just now realizing that you're right. Örjan Kihlström seemed high on that horse's potential and nothing else really, because I asked him about SIP, who of course was second last time out when going out this distance. He mentioned the horse's, incredible record at Yonkers in the past, talked about the good race last time out. But he said these are some of the best in the world at the distance. He'd be happy to be 4th or 5th, so maybe that is a clue for Örjan into how he feels about Missile Hill. And also talked to Bjorn Goop today. He talked about the 8 working class hero, said that it's a really strong horse, has raced well in France. The trainer's been very positive on the horse. But, he talked a little about the dynamics of a race like this and how difficult it is to win from the middle. He says that, the horses seem to win often, and especially the history of this race, either that first row, first line, or on the 40-meter handicap. Can be tough in that 20-meter handicap, but he still thinks his horse might be one of the top 3, 4, or 5. But either way, Mike, I think there's a French invader that's going to start on that 40-meter handicap line. It's going to be a pretty significant favorite in here in the form of the 11, Isodard Petitcross.
Yeah, huge. Taking huge money so far in the early money, and he's been facing the horse that's going to be one of the favorites for the elite race, and this horse has made over $1 million, and so this is a top class horse, and probably the easiest spot this horse has seen in quite a while. I mean, if you look back at this horse's lines, Go On Boy, Joviality, Idio de Tillard. I mean, that's the top of the Elitlopp right there. So, and you talk to Kihlström, he said SIP is probably lacking against these horses. Well, that horse lost to High on Pepper last time, who's another horse in this race. So if he doesn't think that those 2 horses can go with some of these, what does that say? So the favorite's going to be tough here, but has to overcome the handicap. So there's so many things here. It's a huge field. You have handicaps. You have traffic. It's an interesting race. I do think some of the inside horses who may have some breakouts here. I mean, they may be able to come some of these other ones because of the handicaps. So I'd be curious to see what Thomas thinks, because he knows a little more about these kind of things.
Well, Thomas, I know one thing we discussed last year leading up to this weekend was, of course, this race in particular, these really long distance races, and just kind of how the French are so good at these staying horses. So this might be another one.
Yeah, there is almost 1 million, little under 1 million in the pick 7 already in the pool, and he is 44%. I was expecting him to be higher. I'm going to single him tomorrow on a big pick 7. He won easy last time against Idiot de Tillard. There was like 8-9 recalls. He has been racing before on a 5-8 track. It's a Philippe Allier. He won this race with Bird Parker, who is Isuard de Vedacus' dad, sire. Okay, he need to pick up 40 meters handicapping. The competition to be Harper Hanover, this is not the toughest one I've seen. You can see in the program, it looks like there is many like superstars because they have been winning, but some of them have been winning very cheap races. High on Pepper has been the Swedish horse in the winter. Norwegian breeder, Norwegian owner that I know very good. That horse has been amazing, but he is up a horse here who is like, for me on a 2 mile race like Harper Hanover is a freak. So out of better case. There is always a question mark when there is a French guy coming to Solvalla from that post. So, but I gonna go hard on him. He's gonna be my single on my pick 7. So I can't. If you're gonna go against him, keep Gamble is a horse I like on from post 1. Good trainer, good driver. But it's very big difference between the horses. Like SAP, he's just okay in this competition for me. High on Pepper is the horse to beat, but I think he never been up against horses like that. So I know it's a favorite, but I think he's just gonna win.
Thomas, what about the post there, the 11 post? I mean, this horse could face some traffic from that spot. Do you think?
Nah, it's post 1. He is leading that's maybe the only question mark. He is leading the standing start on that distance. So that is for Benjamin Rochard. That's his most important thing to see how the other racing early tomorrow when there is standing start, how they go into the wall start like it says in Sweden. So for him, there is only 5 horses on his distance, so he shouldn't have any problem getting out of there. And when everything is settled, I think he's just going to pull on the right line and go. And I know there can be some horses who maybe going to go between him. There is always a question mark when you have French drivers coming to Solvalla, but I think this guy here, with connection with Philippe Valliere, I will never put him up on Solvalla if he didn't know what to do. And I know he's gonna be there, see the wall start before he go out with him. So I know people gonna go against it because it is a French driver, but I think the horse is just too good. And when I can get 44% in a pick 7, where you need to have a single, I going for it.
Mike actually touched on a question that I was hoping you could expand on a bit, Thomas, because at least when I'm thinking about the handicap distance as a start, even though you're doing the spinning start, wouldn't there be some kind of an advantage to be a bit more outside when you have that handicap, just because you can try and get better position, even if you get parked out when trying to go? It just seems like if you have 3 tiers of distances, being at the inside would be the worst case, wouldn't it?
It could be the worst case if he can't leave anything, and if the driver missed the start, then he's going to be last. But I don't think it's going to be any problem for him if he's last here, right? I think the only thing for him is get out safe, not making a break or getting into trouble. But it's like everybody should know that post 5, if there is 7 horses in the wall start, post 5, it's nasty. It's at least 60% you're going to make a break or you're going to get a bad start. It is post 5. I always take post 5 away if it's not a super good horse. Post 6 and 7 is what we call a springspor in Sweden and Norway. You're going to get a wider turn. You're going to have a little more speed when you come on the outside from 6, 7. Post 1, post 6 and 7 is the best to have. Post 1, if you have a decent horse, you can go out good from the gate, and post 1 is okay too. But 6, 7 in a full wall start. Then you have there is only 3 horses on the second handicapping, 8, 9, and 10. So they're just going to float out. And then you have the other guys who is 5 on there. So it's a little tricky too, but sometimes they steal a little meter if the starters is not paying attention either. They maybe sometimes take a wider turn behind there so they can get a little more speed when it says go. So it is a tricky system, but remember, post 5 in a full wall start is no good.
So, Ray, since we're doing the show on the fly, we can do whatever we want. If you don't mind, I'm going to present my screen, and we're going to look at the start of last year's race. We'll let Thomas maybe talk over it a little bit and see what we can learn from that. So let's work with that. So let's see.
How do you share? How can I share your screen?
I think we should see
my God!
We see it?
Wow! Yeah. Well, except right now it's just okay. There we go.
There we go.
Wow.
All right.
Oh Thomas, my God!
So Thomas, talk us through what we're about to see here. So this is last year's start. I think we had 2 on that front line. You can see that 20-meter row versus the 40-meter row, and then here they come in the line.
Yeah, and then you see there is only 6 on the other one there, and you see on the if we go little if you have 7, if you have 6, then it's okay. Then you have little more space if you have post 4 or 5. But if you have 7, you can see some of the other the horses on the back all the way back there. some of those horses didn't get a like fair start. Like, and always with Harper Hanner, it never go on the first try. It's gonna be recall. It's gonna be recall. It's gonna be recall. Who horses is gonna be hot? Who is not gonna be hot? Like, it's always Harper Hanner is for me one of the better race to bet, but because there is always so many factors you need to put in there. And if some horses make breaks, I also think that would benefit Isual Vedakis. I think if he just stay out of problem, he's gonna win this race.
You know, Ray, I will say, well, first of all, we had the Philly race today. So amazingly, they got them off on the second time of asking, which was pretty impressive, to be totally honest. And the circle start there for the 3,140 meters. But, you know, I think there's a couple things to think about. First of all, I mean, this is almost 2 full miles of harness racing. You think a mile is enough time for guys to make moves. How about 3 full laps of the track? I mean, there was a huge move from Bjorn Goop early on, sat outside the leader, eventually found the rail, tired late. Then there was this other big move from Jorma Cantio later on in the race today. I mean, you know, you can see a lot of things in 2 miles. But you know what happened ultimately was the horse that went to the lead was the horse that ended up winning. So, Ray, I think we talk about a lot to the thoroughbred audience. There can be that misconception. The longer you go, the more you're looking for a closer. But, you know, not necessarily, and especially here, sometimes you just kind of get the lead, then somebody's going to come provide mild pressure, and someone else is going to have to, you know, use energy to come sit outside you in mild pressure. You're the freshest horse.
Yeah, the longer distance you go, it becomes increasingly a driver's type of game. Just because there's so much more time for you to race. And so that leaves more guys to be able to either try and steal breathers or other guys to try and go take an attack on a horse. You're just increasing the variables for each meter that these horses have to travel. You see something similar in like steeplechase racing, because you want to talk long distances. They'll go 3-4 miles, as everyone I'm sure is aware. And there's no 1-to-1 for every steeplechase race. They could go a crawl, they could go sprints. It's all up to what the guys on the horse decide to do. And similarly, in a race like this, a lot of this is going to be up to just the strategy of the drivers and how well they really know their horses to know when to make their move and how to time their move, or else they'll either move too early, they'll move too late. You always want tactics in a harness race. That's always a major part of how the sport functions, but especially in a race like this, that's paramount. Just having a guy who knows what he's doing.
Righty. So I'm currently in the background. You know, Ray, we're going to show a lot of other YouTube videos throughout this. Now that I've learned this is a concept, we got all
That's
sorts
fine. It looks so cool. This is really
this is
the
actually
future.
This is kind of fun. We should have thought this more out of things we could do. So I just got a couple things I want to highlight and show. But anyway, my thoughts on the race, because I guess I still never gave those out. Yeah, I'm with Thomas. I think the 11's the single. I think the French are coming here with this horse and are going to take care of business. But, you know, if you're not looking for a horse in the 40-meter handicap, you don't want to give up that much ground. I mean, you saw when we showed the race, you know, how far back that is. The one Keith Gamble is going to start there on the inside. I think if you're looking for a price to try to upset the likely favorite, that's maybe the one. But I think the 11 is going to prove to be pretty strong in the race. So talking through a little bit, and Ray, I'm prepared to present here, is we'll let you pull up third race Sunday odds while I'll present for now. And going to share a couple things. First of all, we're going to share, this is not a race we're going to handicap, but I want to point out, so we had the speed race here this afternoon on Friday for the cold bloods, for the cold-blooded horses, and we'll get to those later in race 5. But Sunday's race card starts with the speed race for the warm bloods, and it's just kind of a really exciting way to get the crowd interested for the first day, or for the first race on Elitlopp day. 9 horses, 3 groups of 3. So this is one of the groups of 3 here you're seeing in a speed race in the past. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's a pure 3/8 of a mile sprint, and whoever gets to the line first in each of these, you know, 3 eliminations, quote unquote, is your winners. And then those 3 square off in the final, and that's your winner. And this is all done in, you know, 15 minutes total. And it's interesting, especially like even here watching it. It might not look like they're going that fast, but I mean, you know, this is just a pure out sprint for, you know, 3/8 of a mile here, less, you know, just over half a lap of the track. So the speed race is definitely an exciting race to start. So hopefully you're awake at 6:45 a.m. on Sunday morning on the East Coast to take in the speed race. So that starts with race 1. And well, the first race we're going to discuss on the card will be the third race, and we know it's Mike Pribozie's favorite thing in the world, maybe mine too. We've got the Monte horses. So this is traditionally known as racing under saddle. Obviously, we see it occasionally here in North America, and the elite Monte races for those best Monte horses. And Mike, when we look at this year's field, again, I think there's a horse that's going to take some significant action. That'll come in the form of the Alessandro Gocciadoro trainee, the 6 Vaprio. But I will say for the 8 Thursday M, this horse does get Jonathan Carré, who, of course, is the name to watch when it comes to these Monte races in Sweden.
That's who I went to, and mostly just because of the pilot. And and this horse has raced well. You got the best pilot. So, but right now, a lot of the money going through the 6 Vaprio, and that's Gocciadoro, of course. But the horse that's a little bit interesting is a non-Monte horse, and that's the $2 million Rhyme. And this is a horse that has been facing some of the top horses: Don Vanucci Zet, Borup's Victory, Missile Hill, Clickbait. So now shows up in here without a gate behind, and that kind of class, if this horse can function at the multi, with that sort of can't talk here, but scenario, then I think that class should take over. And so that's a horse that would be very interesting to me, and is currently like less than 4-1 on the board, has about 10% of the pick 4 money going through. So, and we've seen this in the past where horses come out of the races with the bikes into these races with that back class and are able to do very well. So those would be the horses for me: the 8, the 2, and then of course the favorite, the 6.
Yeah, Mike, I'm on the same 3 as you there, and that reminds me, the other one I wanted to mention was, of course, $1 Million Rhyme, and you hit all the points there. So, Thomas, not sure what insight you might have to us on this horse going from regular harness racing he goes to now under saddle.
Yeah, this I'm gonna be hard on the pick 4. I'm gonna have a hard single on number 6, Vaprio. He don't show so much in the program, but he's been racing under saddle in Vincennes. This is different compared to the competition corps at Damet. Eric Raffan is the best Monted jockey there is in France, one of them, and he's one of the best drivers to drive also. So he won the Monte race last year. He won on a new track record, I think it was. So I know Vaprio is very fast behind the gate. I'm gonna be hard single on Vaprio. I haven't seen anything of the other ones. Okay, $1 Million Rhyme is 10 years, so it's going to be exciting to see him racing on the saddle against these horses. Corps Etame, Post 8. Jonathan Carré is the best rider who has been in Sweden for at least 4 or 5 years. 5 years. The other ones is decent horses, but if Vaprio is 80% where he should be, he's gonna win this race.
Yeah, Ray, I mean, I mentioned the 3 I did, but I think Vaprio is really squarely the one to knock off here. But, you never know. We see some interesting things in these Monte races. And, $1 Million Rhyme will definitely be the wild card question mark of this race.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting that Mike pointed out that when horses go from the bike to the saddle, that sometimes there is a positive progression, because that's something I wonder is, what does the horse do when all of a sudden there's something on its back? Because for so long, the guy is behind them, and all of a sudden he's on top of them. I mean, horses are pretty smart animals. I imagine they probably figure it out in like a minute or two. But that is when they have to race and stuff. It's just a different kind of feel, I have to imagine.
And I will say, Ray, from having been at Solvalla today, obviously
having been on a horse,
a lot of horses on the weekend, we're kind of out and about and kind of getting their feels around Solvalla. I did happen to see $1 Million Rhyme for just a couple seconds, and had somebody on his back, seemed to be taking it all in fine. So I suppose no concern there. I mean, I don't think he was really going to be like, trying to buck him off or anything, but he looked fine to me.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe that's a good sign then. I'm looking at the odds beyond just, the obvious, and the only thing I think I have to add, and Thomas can tell me why this is just flat wrong, the 5, Shalimar de Guez. This horse has been racing okay, but Tom, am I a fool here to think that this horse could be live at a price?
I have some friends of me who owns that horse. They bought him from. They tried to race him in the big Monte races last year in Solvalla and in Abi, but he made breaks. This year he's coming back after winning some cheap Monter races in Norway. He was third in Sweden, where Corps Etame won. Yeah, it's a good jockey in Helene Kolle. I think he don't have the class. Vaprio is much better, but if Vaprio have a bad day, I wouldn't be shocked. But I would be shocked if he wins. But he can maybe be something for exotic players.
Yeah, that's really all I have to offer.
All right, well, we got a price from Ray Cotolo, and Ray, I will steal back the screen here as we go to the next race. We'll be going to Elite Kampen, the Elite Struggle. These are the cold-blooded horses, and I've just got the last 500 meters or so of last year's race teed up, and we're going to see if we're watching here, the horse is going to ultimately win this race is going to be Evarti. Who
Feel free to full screen the video, by the way, Ed.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I should. Yeah,
we don't need to see what YouTube shorts you have recommended.
Vardy there to the inside is going to go on and win this race, and this is of course back in again the race this year here. Santtu Raitala is driving, one of the best from Finland, and the defending champion is back again this year. These cold bloods, Thomas, obviously just muscularly a little different than the warm bloods, a bit slower. Definitely have some very cool manes and just kind of patterns, and very fun horses to watch race for sure. And obviously, it's another big race. You can see the excitement from Santtu Raitala in victory there last year.
Yeah, I love these races. I love this race. It's going to be a very exciting race to see, and I think there's 3 horses who can win. Everybody is of the handicappers in Sweden is going hard on number 2, Evarti. But just seeing the program and seeing we have, like with the race replays, we can see home that the number 6 is Isakan Navallo. He has been a favorite the 2 last races against Evarti, and he beat them. He's easy 5th of May, and then he made a break as a big favorite last time. Okay, have post 6. Evarti is going to go to the lead, but Iskan Vallo is going to get at least a helmet or maybe parked on. I think he can win from parked on the outside too. But if he gonna get a helmet, I think he can beat the favorite. Another horse who definitely going to get some money from me is number 10, Tangenbach. He was second behind Evarti last year. He was not super sharp in the last race in Norway, but they've been going on him a little harder in the training, and he has been fired up to this race. And I think from a helmet, if you're going to get 2 Finnish guys fighting each other up front there, and if he is not too far behind, I think Tangenbach also is a player in this race. I'm going to beat 3 horses on my pick 7. It's going to be 2, 6, and 10.
You know, Mike, I think every cold blood race we talked about last year had me selecting Tom Erik Solberg and the Tangenborg, so I can't go away from him now, even though he's got a tough post, and obviously the last couple races may not have been spectacular, but, 10 wins last year from, I believe, 16 starts, so obviously a horse who likes to win a lot, obviously one of the better cold bloods out there, so, expecting him to rebound from those last couple here sometime soon, and this would be a great, huge spot for him to be able to do it in if he can do it on Sunday.
Yeah, last year, and this could be just anecdotal, but it seems to me that speed does very well in these races, and you didn't see a lot of horses getting past last year with these kind of races, to me anyway. So I think inside is a big advantage. I think that speed is a huge advantage, and the 2 draws perfect. Has made $1 million, and they're gonna have to beat that horse right now, as far as I'm concerned. Now, it doesn't mean that it's definitely going to win, but I do think that horses like the 2 and the 4 that have those inside posts that can get away from the gate can have a huge advantage in the race. And so we don't get to see them that often, but you can see from the video too, they're a little bit smaller, and but it's good racing, absolutely.
Yeah, and Ray, thanks for pulling that up there. We'll go with those the rest of the way and get a feel for, obviously, what the money looks like in the V75, where there is already tons of money in that pool. Obviously, the big signature bet at Solvalla on Sunday versus these win pools that are much smaller. So that V percentage, obviously, a much clearer indication of the kind of money that Evarti's going to ultimately end up taking in this race as Sunday approaches. Because this one, we're looking at Sunday races, so we're over, 36 hours basically out from when this race is actually be run at this point.
Yeah, and this is also one of those races where I imagine if we have any Swedish natives watching and they hear me pronounce any of these names, they can get a good little belly laugh at just what syllables I choose to accentuate, which letters I emphasize. So I do indulge them. I'll try and pronounce some of the horses that I like. How about Grizzle Foxen GL? Okay, I kind of like what this horse has going on. Making a positive progression into this race, gets a good draw. Pretty much all there is to say about that. And on top of that, it seems like a logical one, just given the play coming in, and so might be a bit of a value choice if you just don't want to go with the favorite or something like that. I'm not going to Stjarn Blomster. Okay, I know many people many people thought Ray would be a Stjarn Blomster, and I mean on some days, some evenings might even be, but no, I go right next door to Isakon Valo, excuse me. I mispronounced that one. I think this one could be a bit of an interesting price. I mean, the outside draw is a little questionable. The finish last out, I'm going to forgive because it wasn't an auto start. Now it gets back to a race with an auto start. And when on the car has raced well in these other races that were outside of Sweden. So I think maybe that one could have a slight bit of an outside chance. But I realize I forgot to also ask, do they really go 10 across for this race? Do they fit 10 horses on the gate?
No, 8.
8? Okay. See, I got confused because the program will give you if they're in like the second tier based off of the distance. At least I thought. So that then elevates the 9 and 10 a bit because I thought they were way out there just looking at the program.
Yeah, so 8 across for standardbred races. Monte races, they can put 12 across, obviously. Smaller gap with the, rider versus the bike. Ray, you're not going to go to Monliki? You're not going to go,
there's some people in my family that are Monliki types. I even know someone who's a Jars Vood in the horse right next door. But no, I'm not going to that. I'm not going to Stumney Fire either. Or Tangenborg. I think Tangenborg is, if he's the favorite inside of this race or one of the principals, I'll try and go against him with Grisel Foxen and not Balder Odin. I'm not using Balder Odin.
Thomas, I'm going to default to you on that one. Jerzy Odin, something like that, right?
On what horse? Jafse Odin. It's like he's named after his dad. All Jafse Fox is the best Colbrooks who's been alive. So many of the horses is named after his dad. And Stjärnblomster is star flower. Stjärnblomster in Swedish is star flower. Blomster is flower.
What does the 8 horses name translate to?
It's just his Jafse is a place in Sweden, and Odin. So many Swedish Colbrooks is named Jafse because it is a place in Sweden, and the breeding name. The same thing with the GL on Grislefaxen and Grisletora. GL is from the breeder's first name and last name. His name is Gustav Larsen. So he have his GL on all his breeding. It's like Hanover Shoe Farm have Hanover. So.
Okay. I'm learning. My brain is getting bigger as we speak, and that's why I can feel my head throbbing right now.
And Ray, J's or Y generally, if we're going to try to take a stab at some
I usually think they're wild, even in the American language, so I can get on board with that.
They sound like a Y is what I said, but good enough. They're wild too, sure. Hey, while we're on it, we got enough time on the show. I just want to have the fun Ray thing. Ray, can you we have a private chat over here, so I can just type it, Ray.
Oh yeah.
Please pronounce that. That is the number 7 in Swedish.
Oh, I thought you were calling me a social justice Ewer. SJU. I was like, I haven't said anything on this show. That would be Zhu, right?
Yeah, it's not too far off. Honestly, it's a weird sound for Americans to make in the English language. It's like who? Thomas, you probably pronounce it a little differently, right? Like,
we
say it more like shoe.
Yeah, we have We have it like this in Norway. We have it like this.
Oh, sick. Yeah. We usually, when we get flour, we put them through one of those to declump it.
Like Sweden and Norway and Denmark is almost like a Canadian American.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me, especially on a Elitlopp weekend, because at this point, I think at this point in my life, I've got an okay understanding of the English language. I'm working through the Swedish language, and it's funny whenever I'm sitting there kind of listening into stuff, and it's like, I kind of understand bits and pieces of this, but then I got to think to myself, it seems like I should know more, but I don't, because then I figure out it's either got to be Finnish or Swedish or Norwegian. Yeah. But, either way, we'll move on here.
You say that like you're on a linguistic conquest. Where then the next you're gonna conquer is what's your next language after Swedish? Let the people
I am
know.
very proud of being able to, and I claim to have the worst French accent of all time. I'm very proud today of being able to, and I'll share these quotes later, of being able to say, Bonjour, Clement, je m'appelle Edison. Parlez-vous anglais? And I was so glad to hear some English back. And I got some quotes for us to share about it now. To Laura, the Prix de Marique winner. So I got us those quotes. Luckily, he said his English wasn't very good, but honestly, it definitely was better than my French. Not that takes anything to do, but we'll move to race 8 here, and that's for the mares, the 4-year-old elite race there. 1,640 meters behind the cars, so just over a mile. And Thomas, we'll start with you because number 7, speaking of who, Esther Degley-Day. This is a horse last year you really turned us on to about this time, and obviously she had a tremendous year last year and now has over $280,000 in the bank.
Yeah, she is quite a filly, and she is a big favorite. 51 percentage in the pick 7 already, yeah, she have only one race this year after qualifier, and Paul Haggard always bring horses sharp when they get out. She wins super easy. Looked super good in her first race for the season, especially when the Drottning Silvia's Pokal winner Karabujan drew the post 9, so she had the second year. I think it's going to be it's so many favorites who are going to have like that you're going to talk very much about. It's hard for me to find too many long shots in the big races because she some of the favorite is just better than some of the other ones, and I think here like Esther Degley-Day, if she's going to go to the lead, I have problems seeing horses on the inside that want to like try to go against her. It's maybe if number 3 East Asia can go to the front. She haven't showed too much this year. She only raced one time, but she made a break, and you never know what Gucciadoro he can be like. It's possible he can try to protect it and not let Esther Degley-Day go. But for me, it is Esther Degley-Day. I love that horse. Like I said, last year, she's gonna go with no shoes up front, American and bike. So, yeah, I will see the horse who beats.
Mike, you know what's amazing to me? It's actually so. I don't time travel well or time travel. I don't travel well time wise.
You don't time travel either.
No.
If you even tried to, you would be. No, I digress.
I don't do well with the time zone adjustment. So, admittedly, my sleep schedule has been very off. So, this is the latest I've probably seen. It's 10:30 right now, of course, here, 6 hours ahead of you all. This is the first time I think I've seen it actually dark. The sun sets here at like 10:30. It gets up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was in Kiruna yesterday up in the Arctic Circle. Their sun sets at like 11:50 right now. The sun rises at like 1:20, and obviously pretty soon they're going to be in true midnight sun 24 hours. So I'm in shock, Mike. It actually does get dark here for just a few hours.
More importantly, Edison, because you're in the future right now. What is the price of Bitcoin so I know what to do?
I think the market's I think it's closed. It's 10 o'clock.
No, it's open 24/7. These are the coins we're talking about.
Yeah, but I bought Bitcoin yesterday. 2 days ago I bought Bitcoin and it was 69,000, and so maybe I bought them. But I think I bought them high, but I think they're gonna go higher.
Usually I buy high, sell low. That's been my strategy.
Mike, your choice. Handicap the 8th race or give us your Bitcoin thoughts, or both, whatever you want.
I don't know. I have like very little money in crypto. I think you should just buy NVIDIA instead, and that's just my opinion. As far as
semiconductors, okay.
Yeah, as far as the race, if you're not going to take the favorite, then I go for connections, and that would be the 3 East Asia. Gucciadoro, I know the horse hasn't shown much this year, but has a little bit of money in the pick 7, and you can always trust him to kind of maybe figure horses out. So I like that one. You get a decent post there. Could end up with a trip, especially if it stays flat. And did take a little bit of money last time. Also, the 4 Elegance Chronos. This is a goop horse, and has faced tough ones, and again draws well. The other horse that's probably going to take money is the 9, who is stuck with an outside post. I think that you probably need to be against that one, especially with the favorite and all that speed that she has. I think that could make things very difficult for the 9 in the race. So give me the 3, give me the 4. I'd be against the 9. And the 7, I do think it depends on the trip. She's probably the best horse, but she's going to take pressure the whole way.
Man, Mike, you loved the 9. 2 years ago, this horse was all over the Mike Pribozie radar, and now you don't even give her the time of day. I'm stunned.
Well, Ray, we'll see what we get out of you because you have some familiarity coming in now. Gigi Hanover last year in the Hamiltonian eliminations for Team Svanstedt, and Tara Bujan, of course, spending some time in the state.
Wait, she was?
Who?
Gigi Hanover? I thought she should be in the Oaks, if anything. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, Oaks elimination, sorry.
Yeah. Don't throw a curveball at me.
I had the right weekend.
Making stuff up.
I had the right weekend.
Well, first things first, I don't have any crypto thoughts, but I do have crypt thoughts. And it's that you want to buy land because then you can, put people inside of it. I think that is the next big market. I just want that out there. In terms of this race, I like the 4 and the 5. Those are the 2 horses that I marked. I also marked the 9 and the 10, but the 9 is obvious. And the 10, I honestly don't remember why I marked the 10 horse. 0-2 so far this season. Oh, I remember why. It's because I liked that race 2 starts ago. And then last out, I'm giving them the old I forgive you. I forgive you. You finished goose egg, beaten 2. I'm going to forgive them for that because I see a positive mile from 2 starts ago over at Abbey. So I think maybe the 10 could do somewhat okay, but really my eyes are on the Goop horse, who I think just gets a good draw. And on top of that, I like that she has 1 start already this season. I don't know how well that sort of angle really functions for the European horses because over here in the States, oh my gosh, you get a start under their belt. These things, they'll fly off the screen. If not the 4, though, it's hard to look away from all of the 1s on Zia Lloyd. I know got DQ'd last out, but otherwise first has hit the board in 13 of 18 starts. Doesn't have, the big plump bankroll that some of these other horses do. But with this kind of draw, why not? Why not? She has 3% of the V75. How? Why is this wrong? Why is this horse wrong?
Well, the 7 has 50.
Oh, you're right. Proportions, of course. That's why.
Yeah, I'm with Thomas. I think it's true, especially, if you would have used this strategy last year, it would have paid massive dividends to you. I think a big strategy here has to be to win the single, just take your favorites and move on, and win to go way deep in a race where you might get a 3% or a 2% or home in a race.
That is not how the Kenny Rogers song goes, by the way.
This is the one where I think Esther Daily Day he just takes care of business. So that would be a pretty strong single for me as well here in this race. In fact, perhaps what I might argue most likely winner of the day, just because I don't think I really want to take a multi horse ever really to be a best likely winner. So I think I'd be close to saying my most likely winner of the day. We'll move to race 10 next, then we'll move on to some elite races. But at this point, Ray, I'm having too much fun with this. All right, here you go. 2 challenges.
Okay.
Pronounce the Swedish word and translate it. What's it mean?
Oh, what? Come on. That's easy. You just wrote the word chef.
Okay, you're pronouncing it chef?
Yeah, well, yeah. And it means cook. We have that's one of the similarities we have with the Swedish people is our love of food and the people who make it.
Thomas?
Yeah, it can mean different too. It can mean like boss.
Yeah, boss, manager, Ray, and chef.
What about the Swedish chef? Like, like that's what I'm getting.
I just think of the movie that was made by the guy who did Iron Man and stuff, Jon Favreau. He made a whole movie that basically says the same thing. I mean, he's an actual chef, but he's the boss of that food truck. I recommend watching Chef, by the way, to everyone out there.
All right, race number 10 here. We have got the 4-year-old elite race, Mike. If you want more Alessandro Gocciadoro, you've got it in the form of the 10. Expo Wise Odds is a pretty significant favorite. This is one where I would try to beat the favorites. How about Point to Perfect? Another one coming over from the States. Had that start last time out there in Denmark. Looked pretty solid. Looking to make it 2 for 3 now in the time overseas. But I don't know. What do you think, Mike? I mean, decisions to be made on a lot of these favorites. Either use or toss probably on some of them, right?
Yeah, I've always been a Point of Perfect fan. I liked this horse in the Hambo last year, even though Thomas tried to bet me I think he tried to give me 100 to 1 or something, if I recall, or something like that. I know that he's very high on the 10 here, just from listening to his DRF with Derek, so I know that he really likes that horse. I do like Point of Perfect as a horse. I'm not so sure that he can maybe compete versus these horses, but yeah, he's pretty nice. And the 2 is also a nice horse. Holcomb Bizet, that's another one that I didn't mind last time. Ended up making a break and disqualified, but prior to that, had a couple wins. Maybe not quite as classy as a lot of these horses, but draws well, and another one that has some speed early, so you get the top connections. For me, I am interested in those types. So Point of Perfect, the 2, and then I'm sure we'll let Thomas talk about the 10.
Thomas,
Yeah,
have it.
now I can explain a little here. We can start with Expo White Sauce. For me, last year, when I think I mentioned him a couple of times last year, for me, it's like the real deal. He looks like a Bone 747. He have the pedigree, and he shows that he's won 13 of 18 races. They have a bad post. They have the second tier. It's not like he's up against just horses. He's up against good 4-year-olds. But I believe so much in Expo White Sauce. I'm gonna have most of my money on Expo White Sauce, but I definitely gonna have some money on other horses too. I'm gonna assess that. It's number 2 Holocom Beset. He made a break last time in the Kungapokal final. I think Kihlström should take that blame on himself. He pulled the air plugs and the pull down bridle just bam, and it got a little too much. If he had pulled the air plugs on the backside and wait little and pull the pull downs when that the Tilly horse, Baron Tilly, comes, I think I don't say he would won, but he wouldn't make a break and he would be okay. Point of Perfect, it's a little question mark there. He had moved trainer. He was at Bo Westergaard, but he's suspended and he was not allowed to race a horse in the big races there. So they moved the horse to Matthias Duse just for 10 days ago. New place, 10 days. Do I like Point of Perfect? I bet him hard on Meadowlands when he won his No Winners of One, and I had a discussion. I had a discussion with Derek Weiner. I couldn't understand how I liked that horse so much, but when Mike was so high on him in the Hambo, I needed to give him 100 to 1 because he was never a Hambo horse for me. But I like the horse. Can he win this race? Yeah, but is Expo Wise up? Eyes on the outside of Point of Perfect, then Point of Perfect is going to look like a 5,000 claimer. So I never like betting hard on the pick 7 on the Sunday on the Elitlopp. You're never going to get money back if you try to take some singles and have it many times. Then you can make money because go back and see the results from the Elitlopp Sundays. Too many favorites wins, and I think Expo Wise us wins. But I'm gonna have some money. I'm gonna have at least 75-80% money on Expo Wise us, and then I'm gonna have the rest 20% on some long shot. Devilish Hill, we had him with Lucas Wallenbarn. The owner take him home. He's been training 6 times in a race bike, and they've been going hard on a race bike with Devilish Hill. I don't gonna say he have the class to go against these boys, but they post one. They're gonna have no shoes, I think. He's only 3%. Yeah, maybe a long shot. I don't think it is a tough race. I don't think the crown is good enough. He's 5%. Maybe I'm gonna have 5% of my money on Devilish Hill just if Alessandro Gucciadoro overdrive Expo Wise us.
Ray, it's really disappointing too. This is the 6th leg of the pick 7 of the Grand Slam at 75 over there in Sweden, and the 7th leg is in race 12. They skipped the 11th race because it's the Elitlopp final. I think they should include the Elitlopp final, and you just have to pick numbers at that point. I want the 3 and the 4 posts in the Elitlopp final. You don't even know who they are yet.
I mean, I've also been in agreement because you see those massive crowds that come for this race. Why not let them riot? It's just prime conditions, and you could get that if you implement that exact idea.
Ray, this is me saying it lovingly because I'm one of those stupid Americans too at times. I'm very determined that every country in the planet hates stupid
American hanging around
tourists.
The French.
Like, everywhere in the world just hates stupid American tourists. And seriously, there's all these signs. I forget where I even was Solvalla, like don't stand on the fence, don't do that. And I forget where else I was recently, but over here and I saw all these signs. That dawned on me, and I was like sitting there like, why are all these signs in English only, not in Swedish? So like, oh, nobody but the American tourists would be stupid enough to do any of this stuff. So that's why it's only in English.
Yeah, I mean,
So there's no
Garfield.
riots in Solvalla. They're much classier people than us.
Yeah, no, they would all just politely line up on the track and then ask for a refund on their ticket. They wouldn't start throwing tables or each other. Though I think you can go back and watch the Roosevelt Raceway one. That one's on YouTube. That's a famous riot because the Daily Double paid less than it should have. I forget the exact specifics to that. Anyway, you want me to talk about this race?
Disqualification, wasn't it? We're getting too sidetracked.
There are so many reasons
it's
to riot in America, but the reason why is because America was founded on the principle of rioting. You know, we hated the country we were in, so then we went to our own country, and then we were like, we didn't like our country enough because we have this other country still telling us what to do. Screw them! And then we rioted, and then we formed our own country, and then inside our own country we went, wait, we don't like each other, and so then they split. And I mean, there's also like
Mike,
many other socio-political.
Where's the mute button?
Okay, this is clearly the Swedish show is not the time for American history. If anything, we should be talking about Odin specifically and all of the Norse mythology at the very least. But we don't have time for that either. I still have to talk about this race, and I'm happy that Thomas mentioned that information on Point of Perfect, because the reason why he's in Sweden is because Bo Westergaard paid like $330,000 for him at the Harrisburg mixed sale last year to try and target races like this. So that answers my question of why isn't this horse with Bo anymore? Beyond that, I'm in agreement with him that this is tough because again, earlier in the card, I saw a horse with a bunch of ones, and I knew what to do. I see nothing but ones on Expo Wise Oz. I see a D, and I imagine that D stands for damn incredible. So I don't see how this horse can really lose. He seems like he's in a whole league of his own compared to some of these others.
If you go in and see it on YouTube, take a look at it and go in and see a couple of races, then you're going to see a package. He looks like bodybuilder in like a sprinter's. It is like you can just see he is a top horse.
Well, and on top of that, I know Crown, I know Devilish Hill, and I even know Point of Perfect. And it's no disrespect to these horses, but they even against some of the American free-for-allers, they would need a lot of luck to materialize. And I imagine this is a tougher contest. So it's probably the most obvious.
All right, well, we move on to the two big races. Ray, I'm going to steal it back. Let you put up the odds after I've got this to show of the field that we have. We can see actual pictures. We can see the horses themselves. So heat number 1, it's going to be the 6th race on Sunday at Solvalla. Post 1, we get Denver Geo. Obviously, there was discussions of whether or not Bjorn Goop would even get a drive in the Elitlopp this year. He's found one in the form of Denver Geo there from the rail for trainer Alessandro Gocciadoro. Obviously, in Elitlopp, you can only drive one horse in the eliminations and the final, so Alessandro Gocciadoro choosing to drive his other horse. Post 2 goes to Don Finucci's set, 1 of 2 in here for trainer Daniel Redian. Again, Örjan Kihlstrom having a decision to make. He picks the other Daniel Redian horse, so Magnus Jusa will pick up the drive on Don Finucci's set from Post 2. Go On Boy, dead heated last year for a second there in the Elitlopp final behind the country May Tonek, who ended up winning. He's back again this year. Post 4, familiar name there, Joviality. Eric Adielson drives again here back from a stint in France. Joviality spent some time there this winter. Capital Mail, there is the Lotteria winner from this year, the 6-year-old coming from Italy up to Sweden for the elite race. Unas Prince, winner of the first major race this year in Sweden, won Paralympia Travet 3 weeks ago. Obviously, incredible gate speed on this horse, but obviously there's a lot of other levers here. Could be interesting to see how the race shapes out early. A Fair Day, Oscar Ginman, a construction worker by day, and obviously another fairy tale story here trying to make their name known in this big race. There'll be outsiders in the race, but anything can happen. And Post 8, maybe not a great draw, outside Post, but Idal de Tillard, the Prix d'Amérique winner earlier this year. One of those two really heavy weights that we're looking to see square off here in this elite race this year. So that's the field for the first elimination. And Ray should have us probably some odds to toss up here. We can take a peek at what they may look like. And Mike, and tossing it to you, I'm going to blab for a while here because I've got a lot of hopefully useful stuff that I can share. So for Bjorn Goop, he says for the one Denver Geo, a lot of gate speed, and he wants to use it. Obviously, his top goal is to qualify for the final, and he admits that it's not going to be at any cost that he wants the lead, but he really does want it, which is interesting because Eric Adielson, as part of his comments to me, was talking about joviality, he thought this was a really tricky division because he could see potentially 5 horses that want the lead in this race. I guess Denver Geo is one of them, and he thinks it could be a real scramble early on. He said for joviality, though, obviously she's super easy to handle. She can leave, she can take back. So it's really tough for him to see how the race pans out. Again, discussing about how many of them could leave. I asked him about if he thought maybe he was in the tougher divisions. I think, you, me, Thomas, earlier this week kind of agree maybe it was. He thinks they both came up really tough. Honeck, Francesco Zet, and the others. He honestly thinks the other one might be easier to calculate how it plays out early, possibly. Again, he's worried about how many can be trying to leave here. And in particular, he talks a little bit about joviality's time in France, talking about a fantastic drive from Bjorn Goop, who overheard that in the background and gave a thumbs up in the Prix de Marie with joviality. But it's the next race that he talked about. He tried to, slightly incorrectly, give me some American times. He said that they went 49 or 50 seconds to the half in that next race. Not quite that fast, but it basically was. I mean, that next race for her was really hard with the speed that they went. Took them some time off after that, got a cold in the meantime, had to wait for this first start in Sweden. Joviality's now just had the one start leading up to the Elitlopp. But Eric did say that she felt very good 2 weeks ago. And last but not least, again, in our lovely broken French-English conversation, Clement, I'm not even guessing on this one.
Nouveau Destin.
What was it?
Nouveau Destin.
Sure, let's go with that. Thank you, Ray. So Clement gave me some information. I asked him about, of course, the Prix de Marie win, said it was an amazing day, very crazy. It's the best race in France, best race in possibly the world. It's an amazing victory for him. He had just driven. He got a drive today. Stefan Melander, he spent a little time working for, so he got him a drive here at Solvalla today. His first time ever driving over the track. So I asked him about the track when he came off of it. Said it's a good track. It's very short. The corners, though, are very good. And he said, obviously, again, today was his first race over the track, and then very important for him to see how the track handles before Elitlopp. And, of course, asking about Post 8. He said Post 8, very, very, very difficult. And he does think he's in the hardest elimination. He doesn't think it'll be easy, but he thinks his horse is very, very strong, and he hopes for a good situation and outcome. So, Mike, there you go. First elimination, plenty of good quotes and thoughts for you. What do we think?
Well, we talked about this on Sunday. I think this is a loaded race. And then you have, Goop saying with Denver Geo, we're going to go to the front. And, Joviality wants to get to the front. We know Onus Prince only has one way to go, wants to go to the front. A Fairday's a horse that likes to go early. I would imagine that they're not going to sit around and wait with the 8 also. They're going to try to lead for position. To me, that sounds like a good betting opportunity, especially with Go On Boy, who's going to be sitting off the pace and we know likes to close, has the class to go with these types. That would be, I think, a perfect spot for this one, especially with all that speed early and in an elimination. I would not mind him whatsoever, especially the way he's drawn. He gets any kind of trip in the race, and he could be the one going forward late. So that would be something that I might be interested in that first elimination. And who knows? Like we talked on Sunday, there's going to be some decent horses that are going to miss the final here because this is a very difficult spot. Thomas, I know, is against betting the favorite here on the outside early in this first elimination, maybe not necessarily for the final, but that horse is in a tough spot. He's going to have to be much the best to be able to make a dent in this race. This is a very good race. I think Onus Prince shakes up the entire thing. No matter who wants to leave, he's the fastest horse early. So see what he does. If he ducks, it changes the dynamics. If he doesn't, it could be get very Western early, and I'll try a little Go On Boy, I think, in that first elim.
Wait, I have a quick question to kind of expand on that. And Thomas probably knows the answer. Adele Titillard, this horse was the favorite in the Prix d'Amérique last year, right? But he broke, didn't he?
Yeah, he broke in one of the turns down there. They changed that. They put a head pole. He had problems on the turn last year when he was younger. He got stronger. They put a head pole on him. He's going to race with a head pole, but he is not allowed to have verb on the head pole, and he normally have that on the line, on the left line. He have burbs on the inside. That's not allowed to race on in Sweden. So they're going to take that away. They didn't think it's going to be any problem, but that's the only equipment change they need to do on that horse compared to the rules.
So then, like, granted, it was like something like that's kind of just like a freak occurrence, given just this horse has won 30 races from 41 starts. But at the same time, from a spot like this, wouldn't that kind of blemish be a concern, given what Mike is saying with how heated it could be?
I have question mark because it is a 5-8 track. Okay, the young driver, he drove today, but he was not super on bigger turns. It's like coming from Netherlands going to like Poconos or Chester. It's a little tricky, but he has been stronger. He's 6 years old. He I don't gonna say didn't look fresh like sound before when he was younger, but he struggled on the turns when he was younger. And from post 8 going into the turns there, I think he's the best horse. But from this post 8 with this young driver against incredible field and many levers, I need to go against him, especially on the pick 7.
Thomas, can you talk a little bit about just because I saw some of my fellow media member credentialed people that kind of took off the track today, actually to go out to Orlando to go to the airport. They wanted to see the French contingent arrive. They arrived by plane and by train, the trains obviously, and then the shippers bringing the horses and the plane with the humans. So, a horse like Francesco's that, for example, or, Swedish horses, they've obviously been stable at Solvalla. They've been right there. French horse just shipped today up, 2 days ahead of the race. I mean, is there a clear advantage to the Swedish horses? Or, we saw French winner last year. Do the outsiders have just as much a chance?
I think those horses are on the top level. They are used to travel. It's like the thoroughbred, the top horse on the thoroughbred. It's the first time he flies. Ideal out Norwegian groom on the horse. She has been on a couple of podcasts I've been listening to. He is very professional. He don't stress up, and he's very laid back. I saw a video. He went into the flight. Bam, bam, bam. Everything is okay. Like Daniel Redden, he is just stable 30 minutes from Solvalla. So it's easy for him. But I think this horse is a little professional. If they don't it's not like he is very, very studied. The only question mark I have with it, he is breathing 3 times a week. And he did that last year, then he lost his little form. He's have his more routine, more experience with it now. But breathing 3 times a week, and then racing on a top international level, and then flying to Sweden. I think there is so many question marks that I want to see him win, and then I will be okay with it and respect him. The horse is incredible, but for me as a betting guy, I need to try to beat him in the elimination.
That's an important. He's breathing 3 times a week. This horse is like an Olympic athlete then. That might even make him a better use inside of a race like this. But I wanted to. What do you want to say, Ed?
Well, I was to say, Thomas, you said trying to beat him. Who do you plan to try to beat him with?
This race is for me. There's so many scenarios. I try to play out the scenarios. Like Denver Geo is going to protect the rail, but Björn Goop is not stupid, so he don't going to protect it for all costs. If some of the better ones is coming, if Don Fanucci set is coming straight away, because I think he can protect the other ones, then he may be going to let him go. If then you have Ernest Prince, maybe if he is having so much speed from the outside that he going to be before Don Fanucci set, then I think he's going to let him go also. So I don't think he's going to let Joviality go. So that's why I don't believe too much on the betting perspective with Joviality, because from this post, when she have 2 fast horses on the inside and she have fast horses on the outside, I can't see too many scenarios that she's going to get a good trip. So for me, like Mike said, Go On Boy, if it's going to be overpaced, I think Go On Boy can win this race. He's only 9%. He's going to be on my ticket. Ernest Prince, if he comes to the front, I think he wins the elimination. If Don Fanucci set comes to the elimination, I think he can win too. So I'm going to have 2 Don Fanucci set, 3 Go On Boy, 6 Ernest Prince, and 8 Ideal Dutilat on my pick 7. But it is a wide open race. And if some of them make a break, say that if Don Fanucci set make a break behind there, then maybe we're going to have Joviality to the lead, and Ernest Prince is going to retake from him, and then Joviality can be second and go to the final or third. It's so many scenarios, but it is hard to handicap this race. For me, it's the 4 horses I said. I don't think Denver Geo can win.
Ray, it's always something, and I forget who told me this. We were talking, I was talking to some driver or trainer today about a different race, but the principle still holds true. Whenever you look at a race and think that 58 people are going to leave, usually nobody does, and whoever does leave is the winner.
Okay, wrong. This happened at Oak Grove the other day, and I said the exact same thing. And you know what happened, Ed?
52
Everyone I said left, and the race set up the exact way. And I mean, maybe they were listening in the driver's room and they were like, damn, this guy's got some great ideas. I'm going to try this. I don't know. But I get what you're saying. It does happen sometimes. I was thinking that if you have speed to the outside with the 6 and you have speed to the inside, then the 6 probably is the best speed off the wings of everyone. And so basically what that horse does will dictate what the inside horses will do. I don't think they'd want to string him out or anything. And to that end, that probably puts Joviality in a potentially okay spot, because if she goes forward with the 6 to the outside and Denver Geo's at the pylons, then wouldn't Denver Geo want to yield to Onus Prince anyway? And that would put Joviality pretty close to the pace. I feel like this could actually set up fairly decently for her. Now, granted, I also probably have a bias towards her, and I still think of her as the Hambletonian winner, if not Todd McCarthy being an incredible driver to get up at the very last second and cost me many, many hundreds of dollars. But this show isn't about me. It's about like Joviality. $5. And I had so much money. I had supers. I had win. I didn't have place because I'm smarter than that.
You didn't have the 50 to 1 shots, and just forget that.
But the case still stands. The Joviality was my get out horse, and then I ended up getting out of the racetrack because I went broke after she got nipped. But I feel like the setup could potentially work out for her. I understand that if she tries to push and then they get bowled to the inside, then she probably gets parked, and that's not an ideal spot for her. But I've always felt that she's had solid ability. I've always felt that if she's close, she's going to be productive. And from a draw like this, especially with the speed to the outside, this feels like best case scenario for her to me.
I don't know. To me, it just feels like Onus Prince, I thought was just going to get the lead, at least in the elimination, maybe not the final, but at least take care of business here. But hearing Bjorn say he really does want the lead in the rail, and he really does. Again, nothing insanely ridiculous, but he really does plan to protect it. That could be an interesting factor to see how hard this all goes. So with that said, if that's the way it really shakes out, I think Going Boy is the bet then, coming from off of the pace to just get them all late. But if Onus Prince can get to the front a bit easier than maybe we're all expecting, I think he takes care of business too, much like he did in Paralympia Travet a couple weeks ago. But definitely an intriguing first elimination that could go a lot of different ways. And speaking of Bjorn Goop, one other thing I'll toss in while we're here is I obviously did ask him about San Motor, who obviously, was second last year's elite race, the favorite going into that final. I had the injury earlier this year down in France, so he is back in training. Current plan for San Motor, race once in June, once in July, once in August this year. He's really going to gear this horse up for a campaign in France this winter. And then, this was the interesting curveball I threw to me, thinking about the U.S. next year. That seems to be on the radar for San Motor. So that could be very intriguing to look forward to next year. But obviously, we'll look to see him healthy and back on the track sometime soon this summer, and we'll work our way from there. But next, we will go back to, my screen to take a look at that second field for the second elimination of this year's Elitlopp. We have got, starting from the rail, Hustle Rain here. Another one of those elite horses from the USA barn that'll be coming into this one. To Honeck, there it is, Philippe Allaire and Gabriel Gellermini, last year's champion. Another horse with some pretty significant gate speed. Onus Prince took the lead early last year, and Honeck took it right back before the quarter, and that was that in the elite race final. Gaspard de Brion, another French horse from Post 3, Matthew Abrevardin, 4 Horsey Dream, yet another French horse here, Eric Raffin, again, one of the top French horsemen, really. Obviously, he's going to have the favorite in the Elite Monte race, but he also will sit in the bike here for this Elite elimination. The 5, Francesco Zet, on a significant win streak, 22 for 24 lifetime, looking for, obviously, the top win of his career, though, in this year's Elite race. 6 is Decision Maker, the Swedish horse coming in for Stefan Melander's barn. 4 Up's Victory, another Swedish horse here for Daniel Vestergem. And the 8th, Bendurian Jet, Alessandro Gocciadoro outside post, and obviously a little bit of a co-owner there named Nikola Jokic for Bendurian Jet, who I have yet to hear whether or not to be in Stockholm Sunday, but I get the suspicion he could be. So that's our field for the second elimination of the 2 here. Race number 7 on Sunday, and obviously Francesco Zet likely to be the favorite in this elimination. I'm kind of surprised how heavy of a favorite he is here, though. But obviously, I asked Arian Kielstrom. Actually, I asked Arian Kielstrom a couple questions. Ray, I asked one for you. I'll get to that in a second.
Oh, okay.
But I also asked him about Francesco Zet. He said, obviously, happy with the draw from post 5. And, I kind of hinted towards a little bit of the class discussion. And Arian said that, he usually races good horses, but obviously this is the first time racing truly top group. So, for Francesco Zet, maybe it is a little bit of a class test, but it's really tough to knock a horse who's won, I believe, 18 in a row now. And, I mean, he's still racing good horses. They might not be the top elite horses, but I just don't think we really know where the bottom of the barrel is for him. So, we'll definitely look forward to seeing him. And like I said, obviously, Francesco Zet versus Adal de Tillard, we've been kind of staring at this for a couple of months to, get this big matchup in the final. So hopefully they both make it through. They hopefully both get good posts. We really get to see the battle in the final we expect to see. But Ray, don't worry, just for you.
Mm-hmm.
I also said, Arian Kielstrom, you're known as the Iceman. You're, 60 years old. You've been driving for decades at the top of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the best horse you've ever driven in your 40 years, and why was it the pickup drive on Unicorn Blue Chip in the Kindergarten Series of the Meadowlands 2 summers ago?
That I think that to this day, and granted, I mean, legally speaking, my career lasts 6 years. If we're talking illegally, I'm not going to go there. I've been doing this a long time. That is the worst gambling mistake I ever made in my life. When Hatter handed me a $50 win bet on Unicorn Blue Chip before she raced, and I didn't just walk to a teller to cancel the bet and take the $50.
You admitted she had a good chance.
I'm there. This is, and ultimately, this is gambler's brain. It's my brain started sparkling when thinking that the $50 could be $300 instead of like realizing the reality of the situation, which was it was about to be $0.
But Thomas, give us your thoughts on this elimination. And obviously, you, me, and Mike all preliminarily on Sunday gave Francesco Zet as our winner of this race, which is not a really chalky pick in a lot of sense. Looking at the futures markets for the Elitlopp winner, Francesco Zet, Adal de Tillard, they're both like 7 to 2-ish range. So I mean, Francesco Zet's not an overwhelming favorite, but we at least all three seem to like him.
Yeah, I've been a little back and forth after I did we talked about it for a week, and when I did it DRF, I still believe Francesco Zet is the horse. He is up against horses he'd never been up against before, but I think he's a freak. Redden has been so high on him when you compare him to the other ones. Do we need to win the elimination? No. I think Örjan is going to be okay too if he's just second in the elimination and get post 3 or 4. Hunek is hustle rank and protect the rail, but he's just going to have a helmet. So Hunek, he can leave sometimes he don't leave. He's up and down, and he's much different horse when you're going to get to the Sweden American race bike summer. Philip Alias says he come with a horse in top shape, so he won the Elitlopp last year. I think he can win from the lead, but if you're going to have Francesco Zet on the outside, I think he can beat by him too. One horse I'm going to have on my ticket. I think I'm going to have at least 50-50 almost on the money in the elimination on number 4, Horsey Dream, and 5, Francesco Zet. Horsey Dream, he was one of the favorites to win the Elitlopp. I think Solvalla will be perfect for him. He is flying if he is racing from a helmet. I think he can win the Elitlopp, and I think he also can win the elimination. He is, for me, the long shot to win the Elitlopp. If not, you go for Francesco Zet. So the other horses here, the decision maker is just a horse who is in here, Milanda. She's been racing super, no shot. I would be shocked if you go to the final. Borov's Victory, I love that horse. I think he can go to the final. Ben Gurin, you know what I've been saying about him before. He will be a top. He will be one of the best horses in the US if he comes here. I think he's a better horse than Aladia One. I hope maybe we can see him in the future. One for post 8, he needs to have very much luck with the overpace. Casper de Brion, no chance. So for me, it's going to be Francesco Zet and Horsey Dream, and I can see Hunek winning, but I have to be maximum and little Brader on the way. So I'm sticking with 5-4.
Yeah, Mike, Francesco Zed obviously still my choice, but I will say for Honak, I would consider him significantly. And, it seems like the bettors are tuned to this as well. You look at the recent form, it does not look spectacular for Honak, but we've kind of seen this in the past from him. There's something about the Solvalla track, Mike, that he just really, really seems to love. And obviously here he comes in again this year when it comes to Elitlopp time. And if he's at the top of his game, it could be back-to-back.
Yeah, he won last year, but he only won 3 races last year. Now, there were 3 of the bigger races. I think you have to make a decision on him, whether because of this year's form, really not the same. So you have to decide, especially in this elimination, if you're going to be betting it, whether you think he's good or he's not. And, I think Francisco Zet is the horse to beat. But, if Honek isn't the Honek of last year, then that makes it that much easier for him. And you might be able to get some value, especially with exactas. Like Thomas said, Horsey Dream there, you're going to get a little bit of value there. I think Hustle Rain is another horse that has been close to Francisco Zet in the past and draws perfect here. Could get a nice trip, especially with some of the speed outside, maybe end up getting parked there. I'm not crazy about the 7, the 8 in the race. I do think that the inside horses are going to have position and they're going to be up against it. So I would be more, I think, if Francisco's he's won all these races in a row, I don't really think that they're going to get cute here. I do think that they're going to, they're going to be trying, keep that winning streak going. I know it doesn't matter, but, the horse just knows how to win. I mean, he's only lost 2 races lifetime. So use him. I try to be against Honek. This is the time to be against him. If he does race well, then maybe you want to come back with him in the final. I mean, he was a long shot winner last year in the final. So I think that's where the value lies. And I'm curious to see what happens here. But Francisco Zet for me all the way.
Ray, we are going to hope to avoid, not that we really have any part in it, so I guess we don't really care, but just for rooting interest, we should root against Manurian Jet, or there is going to be like international conundrum investigation about the concept that, wait a minute, Jokic wins the NBA Finals last year, looks pretty unhappy, says, I want to go home to horses. This year loses in the second round, gets the Elitlopp, and his horse wins, and he probably looks much happier in the winner's circle than he did with an NBA championship trophy. So, we might want to root against the 8.
I mean, I get you're phrasing this like this is like the Dreyfus affair. I also don't know how many people watching would actually get that. They're old enough to get that reference. I'm only against because of the outside post. I didn't even know Jokic owned the horse until you told me. That doesn't really benefit the handicapping too much aside from that's pretty neat. I wonder if the horse is that stands as tall as him. That's one thing.
Well, it means he's probably jogged the horse, so the horse can at least withstand the 7-footer.
And Jokic can jog, so I imagine he's probably given this horse some good lessons to go up and down the track. But, usually you want to just go forward versus in basketball, you're going up and down, back and forth. That might not necessarily – and I don't think horses can really dribble, too. That's probably not going to be that advantageous. If we're looking at this race – I gotta love the fact that there is a horse named Horsey Dream. I can't think of anything else beyond like Francesco Zet's incredibly obvious, and you don't need me on the panel to tell you that he's probably the horse to beat. You could just read numbers, but no, I have an appreciation that when the future comes, which will be later. And people look back at the history of harness racing in Sweden, especially, they'll see one of the greats was a horse named Horsey Dream. In the same way that, we had a long history of like Super Gill and Shy Away St. Pat and Dale Fraud, like all these other kinds of names. And then in the future of harness racing, people will look back and go, the foundational sire, Carl. Like it feels the same thing as having a horse named Horsey Dream. So I think I got to root for that on top of the horse. Also fitting inside of this race. Like he's probably no Francesco Zet, but he's Horsey Dream. And I think being yourself is probably the best thing you can do. So I'm with him. I'm with him.
Mike, Ray takes an incredible amount of time to say nothing useful.
I mean, no, really, think about
I was thinking, we've been on this so long that race, the full Ray is coming now. It's here.
All right, well, we are just about to excuse our way out the door here. Last thoughts, again, kind of like with the Sweden Cup, obviously, and again, follow any of the four of us on social media. There'll obviously be a lot of focus there on us as, we'll provide commentary to you throughout the day, I'm sure, and, thoughts on the final as we get closer. But, Mike, as it stands now, any thoughts you have to share on the final?
Just Francisco Zet for me. A horse that just doesn't really know how to lose. So I really hope that he gets his flowers, in this race, and it will be madness, I think, at the racetrack if he does.
Yeah, I'll definitely be rooting for the Swedish connections. Obviously, rooting for Swedish winner. I think Francesco Zet is hopefully that winner. I do pick him as the top pick, but I'm not maybe as sold as you in the sense that a poor elimination from him could really change a lot for me. I don't think he's really seen these top level horses. I mean, look at some of the fields he's been facing. The win streak's impressive. Yes, he's knocked off some nice horses, but he hasn't knocked off some of these kind of horses. So I'm intrigued to see how it goes there. Adalde Tallard could potentially move well up my list, depending A, how he races over the track, B, how Clement takes the driving over the track, and more importantly, from post 8, he A, has to make the final, because I think there's a universe where he could miss the final entirely, but if he does make it, what post is he going to get? Where he finishes now, Lim's going to have a lot to do with it too, so where is he going to have to start in this final? Onas Prince, how hard does he have to work in this first elimination? Even Honak, if he ends up winning an elimination, or with some of the gate speed he has, does he have to work hard for the lead and then battle the finish? So I think there's a lot of factors that could change my mind between now and this final. I will say that for sure. But again, I'll take Francesco Zet at this moment in time. Thomas?
I hope Francesco Zet wins. He is a Swedish horse. I think his hardest competition is the 3 French horses that I've been a little high on. I think Eduardo Delade in a final from a decent post, sure. Go On Boy and Horsey Dream is the long shot. I think both of them can win the Elitlopp with maximum, but for me, I just hope Francesco Zet is the new star.
Ray, it's like you're 18 all over again. You only get one chance to pick your first Hamiltonian winner, your first Preakness winner, your first Derby winner. Here you go. Money on the line. You're betting it Sunday. We know you're in on this now. Your first Elitlopp winner is going to be.
I want to say I wish to never be 18 again. I went through being 18, and it's not as fun as people say it is.
You were also betting way before 18 anyway, so
not according to any records that stand. But look, I still can't get over the fact that we're gonna be looking at Carl the same way we look at Hamiltonian in the next 20 years, and his name is he's named after one of the Mr. Beast guys. I digress. Look, so I like joviality. That's pretty clear since the moment I've done anything here on ITM. I feel that she's a real talented mare. She's bred to be incredible. Passathea Face, a real nice mare herself. Chapter 7 was okay. But okay. He only won a bunch of races and became a foundational sire through Walner. But even if she doesn't win, that could potentially be a good thing for her, because then she can land one of those more tactical posts that might benefit her. But really, a lot does come down to how that first elimination goes, because it's so full of the Titans, and that'll determine where does Adalde Tallard land, where does Onas Prince land if they make it, where does Denver Geo even make it, because each of those horses bring their own little quirks to the dynamics of the final that will impact who stands the best chance beyond just whatever posts they land from how they finish. But I got to wear my heart on my sleeve, even though Horsey Dream is probably the best name I've ever seen. I still got to ride with joviality. I feel like she's a real nice mare, and she might be an okay price in both the heat and the final.
She'll definitely be a price.
I mean, right now she's like what, 8 to 7 to 1.
You get more than that.
In the final, you will.
Ray, if you can share my screen one last time here. There's our current winner odds. So again, this is for the entirety of Elitlopp, nothing to do with elimination or anything like that. Francesco Zet has actually edged in front of Adalde Tallard here in the marketing, probably having something to do with that post draw. Obviously,
was this Unibet
final? Yes, it is.
Okay.
Horsey Dream is actually a pretty clear third choice now. Honek's drifted out a bit since the last time I took a peek at this. Don Fanucci Zet, I know, has gotten some momentum here. The other Radian horse, Onas Prince, Go On Boy, and Joviality's next in line there, Ray. You can get 25 to 1, and then you've got your pretty deep long shots from there on out. So a good-looking field again this year, as always. A fantastic potential matchup awaiting us in the form of Adalde Tallard versus Francesco Zet. Should be an excellent, excellent weekend of racing at Solvalla. we definitely hope you tune in. Obviously, hopefully this show's been insightful to you. There's a couple of podcasts, one from this year, one from last year, that hopefully give you some good intro content if you're looking to learn a little bit more about the Swedish racing before you dive in this weekend. Pay attention to the ADW feed. I'll be on there tomorrow with Julian McLaren, and then that Lennon will be on from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. local time here, which is 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. or so over there in the States. 6:45 a.m. first post time tomorrow. 13 races on the card tomorrow. Races 1 through 3, those Sweden Cup limbs we talked. Race 7, the final. And race 12, the Harper Hanover Lopp, that 3,140-meter race. And then Sunday, same deal, 6:45 a.m., 13 more races. Race 3, the Elite Monte race we discussed. Race 5, the Elite Cold Blood race we discussed. Races 6 and 7, those Elite Loppet eliminations. Race 8 and 10, the 4-year-old Elite races. And race 11, that's when we get the big Elite Lopp final. Then races 12 and 13 to close out the huge weekend at Solvalla. So a huge 2 days of cards of racing await us still. And hopefully all your bets this weekend are winning ones. And we'll talk to you next time here on In the Money Media.